Drinking beer, talking sports. What's up? I am Melloweyelllow, and this is the one and only Junkyard Dog guest starring this week. Junkyard, we talked earlier before we even got started. I can't stop smiling because this is my guy right here, finally live and living color for y'all. And we're gonna recap this year's football playoffs, and it's been pretty interesting. Obviously, with Adrian Peterson trying to chase the rushing, championship or the yardage total for his career, and we got, Adrian Rodgers, obviously at the MVP level, Tom Brady. In these playoffs this year, in your opinion, who has stood out as being just that much more better than anybody else? As we talk about sports, drink beer, and talk sports.
In these playoffs, I would say what impressed me the most will have to be, so far, surprisingly, Ray Lewis and the Ravens. I'm really impressed with their defense. Stout, fearless. And when they get they cleats dug in, man, ain't no stopping them, in my opinion.
Yeah. I was kind of impressed as we drink beer and talk sports as the cheer goes out to America. The way they actually man-on-man defense against Denver and Peyton Manning. And once again, Peyton Manning pisses his pants in the playoffs. He's got really one great playoff run in 2006. Remarkably enough against the Bears. He can't win in cold weather. He's been overrated his whole career, in my opinion. Obviously, you may disagree with that, but I've always said he was overrated because whenever the big game came up, he could never win. Regardless of any of that, once again, the Ravens proved that although their defense is decimated by injuries, when you got Ray Lewis, you can win any game and Ed Reed. What do you think?
I think, let's go back to Peyton Manning, man. Peyton Manning, in my opinion, he's stellar and stout during the regular season. Playoffs come, I'm not necessarily going to say he pisses his pants. I'm just going to say I think when the playoffs come around, he gets rattled. When you got a defense like that and they, knock him around a little bit, I think he gets a little bit more rattled. Because you can hit Tom Brady, but it's hard to rattle him, in my opinion. He might get a little bit more timid, a little bit more cautious, but he's not going to get rattled. He still keeps his poise. He keeps focused. He keeps his eyes downfield. He goes through his reads, his progression, and he got that pinpoint accuracy that just won't stop. Peyton Manning, on the other hand, he get a little rattled, man, he's liable to he might throw the ball into the stands. Who knows?
As he proved against the Saints, throwing a pick six to end that, championship game, and the Saints win, the Super Bowl. And he's done it so many years. And more times than not, it's been in cold weather. He's like, as statistics showed, he was on 4 in games below 32 degrees. And now he's on 5. Even though maybe that wasn't his fault last week, them losing that game to the Ravens, he still lost.
He had that glove on too, didn't
he? He had the glove on.
I was wondering what that was about. But, I mean, he threw that pick.
He threw that pick, and at the end of the day, say what you want about, and for all you critics out there so quick to anoint, people like Peyton Manning and Aaron Rodgers, are we forgetting that Brady has been to 5 Super Bowls? Yeah, he only won 3. But let's not forget how cold he really is.
17 playoff games.
The most winningest playoff quarterback in history as of last week. And we ain't even talking about this week if they beat the Ravens. That's a big hit. Why do we forget about somebody like Tom Brady, who is so calm, cool, and collected?
The coldest, the smoothest, the most handsomest white boy in the NFL. You see him when he on the press, the conference. I mean,
Well, you can't knock him.
Our team plays hard. He got the dimple in the chin. Our team just plays hard.
As we drink beer and talk sports, we would both agree that probably Tom Brady's got to be the best quarterback in the league.
Let me finish. Our team, we played hard. We just got to improve on a couple of little things. And don't forget that I'm married to Michelle Bushkin. And, I got my beard, and I'm handsome, and I'm rich. Don't forget that, guys. That's Tom. But he don't ever say that. But when you look at it, that's what he's saying to you.
I am Melloweyelllow. He is the Junkyard Dog. We're drinking beer and talking sports. Cheers, America. And as we talk about the New England Patriots and the playoffs, it was kind of interesting to see, the first week, the wild card games, and the Texans playing the Bengals and the Vikings playing Green Bay and Adrian Peterson as his great run ended. Yeah, what were your thoughts on some of those playoff games? I mean, I thought it was kind of went the way we expected it to, with the Ravens winning, with Green Bay winning, with all the teams you thought they would won.
Man, I was shocked at Green Bay. I mean, it's like they folded like a deck of cards, man.
Mm.
I just don't understand how they let Kaepernick run all.
Well, I'm talking more about the first week.
Oh, you talking about Adrian Peterson?
Yeah.
Well, Adrian Peterson is a stud.
Mm-hmm.
That dude is a bona fide stud. That man, look here. I don't know what tricks that Dr. Anderson did to that knee, but it worked. I hope he do the same trick to Derrick Rose. Mm-hmm. But anyway, be 9 yards short of that record. I don't know. Do you think he's gonna be that much hungrier to get the record next year? Because that ain't no easy thing to go.
He's approaching 30 very fast, so you got to ask yourself how much of a window he has left, which is pretty impressive. It's never been done. The type of injury he went through with that ACL, MCL injury.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, that injury is no kind of joke. Maybe he's gonna go see Lance Armstrong and he's back next year.
But as we drink beer and talk sports, I am Melloweyelllow. This is Junkyard Dog.
Speaking of Lance Armstrong, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about I mean, all those years of lying, cheating, and I heard he was not only threatening people, suing people that he called his friends. You know, how do you feel about somebody like that?
I think he's a slimy bastard. I mean, what else can you say? I mean, I think it was kind of funny. He got on Oprah for part 1 and part 2. It was kind of, in denial. He was trying to play it off as if he was the victim. Whereas, why don't you just admit, I made a mistake. I screwed up like Andy Pettit did, like Clemens eventually did, like Mark McGwire eventually did with the PEDs in baseball, and say, you know what, I made a mistake. I screwed up. I effed up a lot of people's lives as we drink beer and talk sports with my main man Junkyard. Cheers, America. And just admit what you did. Take it for what it's worth. Apologize. People are not going to forgive you right away, but they eventually will forgive you. But you were at least man enough to say, I did something wrong.
That's a forgiving society.
Exactly. But he didn't do that. He was kind of standoffish, kind of like, well, I didn't do nothing wrong. Who are you to question me? Well, everyone knows it's been proven now that you did test positive. You did cheat. Landis came out and told on you back in the day and no one believed him. Right. Like Canseco did in baseball, no one believed him. Right. But yeah, you were found to be guilty. I thought it was kind of punkish for him. In layman terms, he was a punk. What did you think?
I didn't see the Oprah thing. I just seen bits and pieces. But in my opinion, man, I think, like I was saying before, all those years of lying and cheating, right, and then you taking down on other people, threatening to sue other people to keep your secret a secret. Right. I mean, you a lame, man. You're punk. Only reason I'm gonna call you like that because of the other people that you intimidate. Go up against somebody that got your same money, your same power, your same status. Go up against somebody like that. Anyway.
Well said. Well said. As we drink beer and talk sports, Junkyard Dog, and cheers to everyone else that is watching us. Thank you very much. The Lock, Big Ride, Harv, Perez, Roderick, Mal Corelli, all of y'all, all our fans, we appreciate your support. As I got my main man in the hot seat today, is the average Joe. And dude, what did you think about the recent firing of Lovie Smith and Chicago Bears? In America, if you didn't know, the Bears just fired Lovie Smith as of 3-4 weeks ago, and at the end of the season. And they always had a pretty good defense, cover 2, Tampa 2 type of defense. Offense was always garbage, but they, were a pretty decent team. What are your thoughts on them firing Lovie Smith? Just be honest.
I'm not going to sit here and lie and say we didn't need a change, but I will say that I didn't want him to leave. I personally didn't want him to leave. I wanted him to stick around. If he had a good balanced offense, he'd have still been here. But since the offense was just so wacky up and down, and I mean, I'm not going to sit here and be in denial and say we didn't need a fresh start and a fresh change. But also, I'm not going to sit here and dog him and talk bad about, him calling timeouts, him calling challenges. All coaches have, bad issues, ups and down issues. So I'm not going to bash him for that, So I wish he was still around his last year's contract, but he's not. He's gone. The one thing that I can't stand people talk bad about people once they're gone. He gone. Let him be gone. Right. Don't talk about him, how he did this, how he did that. If y'all wanted a rah-rah coach, a loudmouth Mike dictator coach type coach. Too bad, because this new coach, he quiet as a church mouse too. So I don't know what y'all gonna say now.
As we talked about it, Junkyard, before we get on air, he's like a rah-rah version of Dick Duran. He's like a drama queen Dick Duran. He sounds just like Dick Duran, the quiet, studious type, but he's got a little more of an edge. Okay, we seen what Dick Duran did. He was, at that time when he was 13-3 with Kyle Orton, the Bears' defense was in their prime. It was a young Urlacher. You had Holman. You had, a lot of great players in their youth. Tommy Harrison. A lot of really good players in their first or second years. They were a really great defense at that time. As the years progressed, they got older, but they didn't have a quarterback at that time to get them to the promised land. Now, as we talk about quarterbacks, as we drink beer and talk sports, my main man, the Junkyard Dog. If anybody knows about quarterback, he does. What are your thoughts about Jay Cutler? And he's been here, 3-4 years, and they spent a lot of first round picks for Jay Cutler, and he's got the magnetic arm and, so-called quote unquote American superstar, and he's had an iffy offensive line, an iffy running game from day one, and overall, what is your grade you would give Jay Cutler, and what is your overall impression of him considering what he's dealt with, and coaches included?
Well, to his benefit, it's hard to have so many, offensive coordinators in the short time he's been here as our, star quarterback. It's hard. You going to one system, then another system, then another system. And you just not got a real number one receiver to throw to,
Brandon
Marshall. So I think next year, if he has a solid year with all the passes he thrown, a solid offensive line with all the passes he throwing, if he can take one step above what he did this year with a solid running game, that's a vast improvement. And that's not saying much, us being 28 offense in the whole
yeah,
league.
like one of the worst.
That's not saying that, but
perennial,
if we can get up to 15 or 16, that's a big upgrade for us.
And for those stat guys, Lovie Smith was 15th or better only one time out of all the years he was in Chicago. But he was always a great defensive coach. So pick your poison. Careful what you wish for, right?
Yeah, you gotta be.
Because you end up being last in the defense or in the middle of the pack in defense with another coach. Then you're going to be wishing for Lovie Smith to come back.
Right. And then you got to think, too, look at Aaron Rodgers. His offensive line atrocious.
Yeah. He gets sacked more than any other player in the league.
And he gets rid of the ball. Right. Cutler holds on to the ball.
Yeah.
That's another one of Cutler's faults is he holds on to the ball till he get his head cracked open. You got to get rid of the ball. I mean, even if sometimes you got to take attention to the ground, it's better than getting your head split in half.
That's true.
You walking around with a concussion, so then you miss a week or 2 weeks. And don't let them draft another quarterback and your butt get a concussion. You'd be a Kaepernick.
And as he just stated, you get knocked out. And as we've seen the last 2-3 years, Cutler's got hurt every year.
Come in, man, I'm telling you.
And another young quarterback come in like Kaepernick, like you said.
And he'll be a double threat or triple threat. They call them double threats. I call them triple threat because not only they can pass and run, when you don't know what they're doing with that option, that's a triple threat.
Okay. As we drink beer and talk sports, well said as always, Junkyard Dog. And we're gonna get moving on to the playoffs. We all, so basically, let's real quickly recap what we talked about, and more importantly about the Bears and Jay Cutler. So, not to dilute from anything we talked about earlier, America. So, what is your overall thought on Jay Cutler, real quickly? You think he's a keeper or a quitter? I mean, you think it's somebody we can build a future with, whether it's with Tressman and his offensive scheme or any other coach, or you think we should just let him go and try something new?
No, you hold on to Cutler until something better comes, because that's all you can do. It's the best thing that's out right now. But you can't sit here and say, like I heard somebody say a couple of weeks ago, you can't say, well, he's the best quarterback that we've ever had and leave it at that.
Right.
You got to still look for something better.
Just keep your eyes wide open.
You can't just settle. You got to always look for something better. So if it's a young cat out there that you can trade a draft for, now you go for it.
But two examples,
give him some competition.
Not to cut you off, as we drink beer and talk sports with my main man Junkyard Dog, and we can look at two examples that are pretty recent with Brett Favre in Green Bay when they got rid of him for Aaron Rodgers to step up. Alex Smith with Kaepernick with the 49ers.
Right.
And then even more recent than that, with Seattle Seahawks, when they traded for the quarterback from Green Bay, and then they ended up starting Russell Martin because they thought he was a better pick after they spent all that money for Kemp coming out of Green Bay. So that was just last year. So the point is, be careful what you wish for, and don't think anything is guaranteed because somebody could always come up and take your spot.
Sure.
In any sport, as we drink beer and talk sports,
Did you say Russell Kemp?
Russell Martin. Okay, not Russell Martin, but
Russell Wilson?
Yeah, Russell Wilson. From Wisconsin, which I can't stand Wisconsin. All my fans in Wisconsin are the person. I just don't like your school because you always be Illinois. Anyway, as we drink beer and talk sports. And we talked about last week's playoff. Not more importantly, we talked about the first week's playoff games in the wild card, RG3 and his knee injury. And how he came into that game against Seattle and his knee was already injured. And Shanahan still put him on the field, and he was hobbling around. And, the thing I thought about that game was the fact that not that he was on the field and he was hurt, but the play calling that Shanahan and his son did was atrocious.
That's what it was. You can have a jacked up knee, and if he mobile enough to get rid of the ball, and he got a strong enough, stance where he can deliver,
push off, and
push off. I mean, you can keep him in there. But if you got a healthy, decent backup, you mean to tell me an injured RG3 is better than a whole healthy backup?
Or Cousins,
I'm not buying that. Cousins did decent in the game. Was the game right before he went to the playoffs?
Yeah, well, it was a couple of games before that.
A couple of games before the first playoff game when he replaced him. He played good. So throw him in there. I know it's a playoff game. You had him in for the first 3 quarters. After halftime, you should have gave him a series, and that was it.
After that first quarter, you should have pulled him.
Well, he knew. See, we didn't know he was that hurt, but he knew he was that hurt.
And what's crazy is you got one of the best running games in the league with Morris. Second leading rusher in the league at the point at that time. And so you got a great running game. Why are you running read option with RG3 as your feature when his knee is hurt? You can fake. You can drop back in the traditional, 3-5 step drop, West Coast offense, whatever. The point is he should not have had the ball as much as he had. That's why he ended up getting hurt, and that's why he's having surgery right now. Because Shanahan overused him when they should have changed their playbook and gave him a lot more passing.
Isn't that pretty much the same injury Adrian Peterson had?
I'm not sure.
Because they said it was the 3 major ligaments.
Well, it was pretty major.
LCL, OCL.
Yeah, ACL, MCL. I know it was at least those 2, if not more. It was 3.
Because the old one, they said they're going to redo the old one too.
Right.
So it was a mess.
As we drink beer and talk sports, what we're trying to say, America, is like, basically, the coaching was bad in that point. They should have turned him into more of a traditional drop back passer and not run him so much.
If he could plant. If he could have planted, keep him in there. If not, pull him, man.
Otherwise, bring Cousins in from Michigan State, who's a proven backup in this league, has won a game from them already, and take your chances with him. You still got a great running game. As we drink beer and talk sports, and we talk about this week's playoff games, some interesting matchups. We saw Atlanta beat Seattle, and everybody's talking about Matty Ice and Matt Ryan, and he's this and he's that. And I've been the same person I was 5 years ago or 4 years ago when he came into the league. I never brought into Matt Ryan. I never thought he was great. I thought he was a product of the great receivers, Roddy White, now Julio Jones, Tony Gonzalez. He had a great running game with Turner. Now it's not so-so because they don't run as much. Although they flexed their muscle big time last week and ran the ball big time. What are your thoughts on Atlanta and Matt Ryan and their chances against the 49ers?
I think they're going to fold like a notebook. I think they're going to, first of all, if they try to run like they did against Seattle, they might get about 75, 80 yard running game. That's about it, I think. I think Matt Ryan going to have to put his pedal to the metal. He's going to have to fire that ball left, right, straight. He's going to have to get it in because if he don't, I'm telling you, man, San Francisco defense ain't finna joke. They not finna laugh. They're not finna play. They going to break ankles.
And the thing I like about San Francisco as we drink beer and talk sports, Junkyard Dog and I'm Melloweyelllow, I like the fact that a lot of times, more times than not, if you really look at them, they only bring 6 guys in the box. And they have 5 guys back in coverage on most teams. Now, some teams obviously run the ball a little better and they can't get away with that. It'd be interesting to see if they can get away with 6 guys in the box, 4 linemen, the Smith brothers, and maybe Willis and one of the other linebackers in the box. And get away with just 6 guys. That's unheard of, America. 6 guys in the box. A lot of teams try to bring 8 guys in the box to stop the run, and you got a safety and 2 cornerbacks. For those of you that don't know anything about football and coverages, Junkyard, would you explain it to them?
Huh? No.
Okay. Well, basically, what we're trying to say is, what San Francisco does is they don't bring a lot of people up to stop the run. They keep a lot of people in coverage and they still stop the run. So instead of having 8 or 9 guys or even 7 guys, they have 6 guys up to stop the run. That's what makes them so dominant. They can get away with just 6 guys.
Defensive backs, they do a lot of single man coverage.
Single man coverage, press coverages. Obviously
they jam them. They do a lot of jamming. A lot of teams don't jam. See, that's what the Patriots, like Russ Walker, Moorhead, they get a lot of free space because they don't jam their little butt. That's what the Ravens
have done. Yeah,
they jam the shit out of them. As soon as they make that first step, bam, bam, they fake.
And who taught the league how to do that? It was the Patriots with Ty Law, and back in 2000, 2001, they started that with Romeo Crennel as the defense coordinator, who just got fired from Kansas City, man. So when you pressure somebody off the offensive line, tell them what it does.
Wait, bro. That's what keeps up, y'all. He keeps at America. Remind me of Bernie Mac with the Bernie Mac show. To America. But I'm sorry. I had to say that. It made me laugh.
Maybe you laugh too as you drink beer and talk sports.
But look, before I forget, I want to ask you this. What is your opinion, your honest opinion, about the quarterback of the Baltimore Ravens?
Joe Flacco, America.
What is your honest opinion?
Well, I have to admit, after last year's playoffs, he threw a ball right into the receiver's hands and he dropped it. I could not complain about Joe Flacco anymore. This year, against Denver, the only playoff game that we've really seen, where he really had to do something when it counted and come back and win that game, he put the ball right where it had to be. I think he's just like Matt Ryan, though, honestly. I think when the pressure's on, he will throw an interception. I'm not buying into Joe Flacco. You probably disagree with me. That's fair. I agree with it. I'm sorry.
I agree with you.
He is a sucker. America, you heard it from me. You heard it from Melloweyelllow and the Junkyard dog. He may disagree. He kissed my, you know what.
I'm not saying he's a sucker, but I'm saying he chokeable.
He is very like this.
He's very chokeable. He's very chokeable.
And I don't know if it's just me, but I don't know what it is about the Ravens. Until last week, they did run the ball a lot more. They're afraid to give Ray Rice the ball.
And I know one quarterback that will not choke and do not choke. He should be called Ice. And that's Tom Brady.
TB.
He should be called
But yet
Tom
nobody
Ice
talks about
Brady.
him. Every year it's like 40 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. 45 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. 46 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Everybody talking about Rodgers is this, Rodgers is that. Rodgers is cold, but guess what? Brady still is better. Because every year Brady goes to the championship game, not Rodgers. Rodgers got 1 ring, Brady got 3, been there 5 times. Until Rodgers do that, don't tell me about no Rodgers. Tell me about TB.
That's another thing. Not to jump the subject, but way back to Lovie Smith. When you said Lovie Smith, how many in the playoffs? 5 out of 6 years.
Okay.
How many teams go to the playoffs 5 out of 6 years?
Like TB
5.
Most playoff teams don't.
It's not like you have. There's 32 teams. You have 16 teams going to the playoffs 5 out of 6 years.
Okay, so we're talking about.
But that's not like Lovie was just like this horrid, just terrible person. Coach. I mean, he was average. So average is average.
Do you think it was racial that he had 5? Let's just cut to the chase.
I'm not gonna say no. Not with him. I'm not gonna say.
See, because America, we don't BS. We get straight to the point with the Junkyard dog and Melloweyelllow.
But I do think race has a lot to do with ownership. I think racism got a lot to do the way with a lot of different players are viewed in the media. I got a lot of different opinions about that.
How about Michael Vick? You think he's a victim of a lot of racial prejudice because of the fact he got caught up with the dog fighting incident?
It just gives the people that already have a negative view of Afro-American athletes a voice and a vein to to go down when they do something negative like that.
Right.
It's not like they can say he's a dumb idiot and he didn't do anything.
Right.
When you do dumb stuff like that,
Mm.
that gives them the venom to say, well, he's ignorant, he's this, he's that. With unnecessary stuff, the man did his time. You don't want to let it go. I mean, that's on you. But when people say, well, he shouldn't be able to play football, that's the most idiotic thing in the world. Because if you, as a man, you got a right to make a living. Okay, say he don't play football. Say he back in the streets and he the one that break in your house and steal your computer, you know, or whatever. Or carjack you in your car. No, you don't want him to play football, be successful. You want him to be a crook. He a crook. Yeah. And he carjacks you. Anything.
Exactly.
But I just think that a lot of, because I can listen to the radio as me and you talked before. I can listen to the radio. I can cut the radio on. And they can be talking about an athlete. And by the voices, their tone, and the epithets that they use, I know the man black or white. They ain't even got to mention his name, mention the team he played for, or nothing. Yeah. I'll never forget when Patrick Kane slapped that cab driver, took his money or whatever he did. When I cut the radio on, they was talking about, well, he's just a young kid and y'all need to just let this go and blah, blah, blah. I said, this dude got to be white.
Needless to say, you look at certain crimes that are perpetrated and without even knowing what race it was, you already know when you hear the type of crime. Because it's different crimes go for different races. Unfortunately, that's a fact. Certain stuff, certain races just don't do. It's not fair.
Black and white people rob banks.
But more times than not, it's certain crimes that you just don't see in certain movies. We don't get deep into that as we drink beer and talk sports, because that's another discussion for another day. But I
do think it's a racial overtone in sports. Not only look at the NFL ownership. How many black owners hired a black coach?
Or the recent coaching searches. 14 different players were interviewed for the Bears and not one African American. Or no African Americans were hired this year that we know of as of now.
How do you think we resolve that?
Well, that's kind of a complex issue because anybody can play the dog and pony game where they bring somebody in, we interview them, but we hire who we want. I don't think it can ever be solved without infringing on a lot of rules that are unfair to people that don't deserve it.
Well, if they take the Rooney Rule and they enhance it, say, okay, well, we're going to start here at the college level. We're going to make sure, we train these coaches. You can have a B coaching league. Say you got a coach, have a guy that you can just have by your side to help you do this and help you do that. Right. Show them how to do this in the meeting room. You don't even have to pay them, intern, quote unquote. Right. You know what I'm saying? Have a B league type of coaching system where they can come in and learn this and learn that, go to a college, get some experience. Then they can even start at the high school level. High school, then go to college, then, apply for, the NFL, go to Canada, do what you got to do, get the experience. But it is, I take this, and I really believe it. I listen to JT the Brick, okay, and Looney. JT the Brick, I always say, when it's a bunch of firings, it's going to be a regurgitation of the middle-aged white man. And that's true. You see all these white coaches come out of nowhere that's out of the league for a reason. Mm-hmm. They out of the league for a reason. What they do, they bring them right back.
That's a safe pick.
And they hire them.
It's a safe pick, though.
They can call it
the safe pick.
Yeah, it's called
as we drink beer and talk sports.
But you can look at the percentage of the black coaches that have been in the league. They all been relatively successful.
That would be true.
Tony Dungy, you got Lovie Smith, you got Mike Tomlin, and Tony Dungy. They both won Super Bowls. Lovie Smith been to a Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. So
that's a great point.
Percentage-wise, they more successful than a white coach.
That is an awesome point, America. As we drink beer and talk sports, how can you argue any of that?
Percentage-wise, it's just a fact.
But more times than not, they get overlooked still to this day in 2013. So I think it's a fair argument for you to say what you're saying.
They're always going to be overlooked. If they do something negative, it'll be, first page news.
Well,
but speaking of first page news, what's up with your man Manti Te'o?
And for those of you that don't know, Manti Te'o and his supposed girlfriend, and the supposed death and her issues she had, and it was all over Twitter and the internet. And I personally didn't think it was that big of a deal. Notre Dame did what they usually do. They covered it up. But then everyone obviously a lot of alums from Notre Dame want to take Notre Dame side and say they did nothing wrong. They did what they always did. They tried to cover up for a player, and what he did was wrong. He knew about it point blank from the start. She didn't die, and he led them on to the championship game to get all that publicity. He was overrated from day one.
And got his ass torn off.
He was overrated from day one. He's a second, third round pick at best. And when you play against the big boys in the SEC, you get punked like you truly are.
That's all it was.
As far as that thing, with this little, some imaginary girlfriend, it was a big hoax. I don't think it's a big deal. I think more big deal is the fact that he's not as good as people thought he was. He's not a first round pick.
That's the story.
That's the real story.
The story of the fact that you had a girlfriend for 3 years you never met. I mean, people do get duped.
Mm-hmm. It happens.
It's if you get duped like that, dude, I'm telling you, when you go to the NFL, them guys
you're gonna
play
hear
jokes on you, left and right.
And then you a so-called first round pick, but then you go in the second or third. Guess what? That's just more fuel to the flame.
Yeah, but don't they? Is he in Notre Dame? Don't have fraternities and stuff like that, dude.
I think they do.
Because if he plays for anything, he'll fall for it all. He wouldn't. Man, I'm not even gonna talk about that. But in my opinion, if you got a girlfriend and you meet online or on the phone,
it is what it is.
Keep it to yourself, dog.
And it's a possibility she could be fake or a man.
Don't even tell yourself too many times. Just talk to her, hang up, and hey man, you got a girlfriend? Nope, I'm single, dog. Because if it's a hoax and you falling for that, man, you're gonna feel like an ES.
As we drink beer and talk sports, you might feel like an ES. And as we talk about football, as we've done for the last 31 minutes, who are your Super Bowl picks from both leagues and why?
I would say I got San Francisco, and I would love it for it to beat the Baltimore Ravens. That'll be my dream Super Bowl right now.
Because of obvious reasons. Because of Ray.
Because of Ray and Kaepernick.
Okay.
Yep, the tattoo man.
And with that game with Atlanta, what are some of the keys that is going to put 49ers over Atlanta and put the Ravens maybe over the Patriots? Knowing how prolific, not to cut you off, but just real quickly, knowing how prolific the Patriots offense is, but we know the Ravens play them tough. What do you think is going to be the key?
Well, with the Ravens against the Patriots, the key going to be is stopping, keeping Tom Brady off the field as much as you can. When you're on the field, knock him around.
Run the ball.
Jam those receivers as much as you can. Don't let them deep boys get behind you.
Which Lloyd is really the only deep threat. Gronowski, he's hurt now. He's got a broken forearm. He won't play.
Yeah, but
Lloyd is really the only deep threat.
Walker and Moorhead, you got to jam them, keep them scared. Yeah. To knock Tom Brady around as much as you can, without any penalties, of course. And with the Ravens and the 49ers, with the 49ers and Atlanta, the 49ers have to keep their defense rolling. Keep it rolling. Keep your foot on the gas. Keep your foot on their neck. Do not let off.
What about the deep threat with Atlanta, with Jones and Roddy White and Gonzalez?
You got to keep your foot on the gas. You got to go for the gusto, man. You got to get to Matt Ryan. You got to get to him before he can release. It take what they say, 2 to 3 seconds. Especially if he got a 7-step drop. Yeah. Get to him, man. Get to him. Rush him out the pocket. And cover them receivers. If they try that deep ball, you gotta cover them. Don't be like the Seattle Seahawks D-backs talking all that yang, getting slapped in the head, and then literally got slapped in the head when they lost.
And he scored a touchdown on you, and you sitting here talking to him, clapping your hands. Well, duh, dummy, you just lost the game.
And did you hear him talking that mess the week before?
Against
talking about Moss, talking about, you want to get slapped around? Yeah, we going to slap you around. Did you see it?
And they sitting at home like we are drinking beer and talking sports. As we drink beer and talk sports.
And they just got away with the PED, whatever they was doing. So shut
they should have got suspended for 4 games.
And I don't like telling players to shut up, but come on, dog. You ain't won a Super Bowl yet. You ain't done nothing yet. You cannot do all that.
Come on, man.
Right. You can't do all that yapping, man. It don't look good for number one. It really don't. And that's another thing. When the receivers get to first down, they do all of that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Because the next time you catch the ball,
You're gonna get lit up.
they're going to try to light you up.
Especially the 49ers. They would put you in the hospital.
I'm trying to tell you, man, they mean. They mean.
As we drink beer and talk sports, and and we've been talking a lot about football. We're gonna move on to basketball, and it's pretty interesting to see Chicago Bulls in like the fourth or fifth playoff seed. Obviously everybody knows Derrick Rose had the MCL injury, ACL injury. He's been out for the longest. I've talked about this with a lot of other, guest stars on my show, and you've been the most prolific guest star. What's your opinion on the Chicago Bulls and their season? And if Derrick Rose does come back, do you think they can make a run for the championship? Or do you think it's just over?
I ain't gonna say it's just over, but it's been so long since I've seen a team whoop a good team, lose to a bad team. Whoop a good team, lose to a bad team.
Right.
I know Thibodeau got to be pulling out the little hair he got left out. Like, what the hell is y'all doing? I know they might be a little spent from beating the Celtics last night, but tonight's game, come on, man, really? They just
Memphis
look
had
tired.
nothing in the tank.
They just look like exhausted. I guess they was hanging around Boston, beating on some booty. So I don't know what they were doing.
Probably pumping as usual.
But they look tired tonight. But when Derrick come back, it might be a little late, but I just wish they would just keep Derrick out for the rest of the season.
I do too.
Just let that knee heal completely up. Let him keep training, keep working on it. But there's no need. You got him for years and years.
Why bring him back now? You're not gonna make a championship with him if he comes
because you still need one other major piece anyway.
Exactly.
So you might as well just, you keep him on the bench, dress him if you want to, but don't play him.
And as we drink beer and talk sports, and that one other major piece, Junkyard, obviously we know the Bulls a couple of years ago, they got close with the Heat. They couldn't score in the fourth quarter. That was their best chance. What is that other piece, in your opinion, that they may need? Jimmy Butler's looking a lot better. Who's just playing some of the best ball he's ever played. But that's without Derrick Rose. When Derrick Rose comes back, is he going to play that good? What is the piece they need, in your opinion?
It's hard for me to say, but it's like it's just hard. It's hard to try to think of a
small forward. I don't know.
Do you need like a D Wade type? Do you need a Chris Bosh type? It's somewhere in between. You just need
somebody,
a player to fill that gap.
Luol Deng got hurt last night. Who knows how long he's gonna be out. He's been a great defensive player.
One of the greatest athletes on the Bulls ever.
For years.
The man played 40 minutes a night.
Every night. That African, and nothing against Africans, but he is African, plays 48 minutes every night.
He must have been running around with some bushes and spears for real.
And not to be funny, but
he don't get tired.
He never gets tired, America.
He give 110%.
He's a great player. All-star.
Good attitude. Don't complain. Man, you gotta love him.
So you're saying that you're not really sure what the key is to get them over the hump?
That's hard to say. It's just hard to say. Like a player like in between Wade and Bosh, you need someone with a solid mid-range jump shot.
Okay.
Somebody that just don't flame the ball up.
As we break down the little points that you want to know about, the Junkyard Dogs telling you what you need to get your team over the top.
Somebody can penetrate and dish. Somebody can hit threes. Like a Ray Allen, for example. He can be a little older, but just, I don't know, it's just hard to pick out a
hopefully not older than Ray Allen, because he's like 50 years old.
Yeah, he's super old. But you know where I'm coming from, the type of player. But Thibodeau, I'm sure he'll figure it out.
I think it was kind of sad they got rid of that suit. And all he wanted was $8 million, and he was such a beast down low, coming off the bench, backing up Noah, and blocking shots, athletic, a younger guy. But we all know the salary crap is what it is. That's why the Heat may not win the championship because they're too small this year. And as we talk about the Heat,
and they will.
And what are some of your favorite teams in the league this year and why?
Oklahoma City.
Okay, OKC.
I gotta go with OKC. I like the Heat, but I don't like them. I don't think they're gonna win the finals at all.
You said that last year though. A lot of people said, well, maybe.
But I don't think they're gonna win the finals. I personally don't.
I don't either.
Who else I like? I watch the Bulls so much. But I know
you like the Clippers?
I love the Clippers. I love the Clippers' chances, I should say. I don't say I love the Clippers. I'm not a quote-unquote Clippers fan.
Okay.
But they can go deep now. They can go deep.
Yeah, deep bench, I think.
And I don't know who you think is a sleeper team that might creep up.
I think the Knicks are actually a lot better than a lot of people give credit.
Carmelo,
And
Carmelo
he's
Anthony.
MVP candidate. You know, if they can stay healthy with their size, with Camby, with Tyson Chandler, you know, Sotomayor, give him anything defense. I don't think it's, yeah, if he can give him anything defensively, not offensively, America, but just something, just block one shot in the game. Just defend one shot like we asked Bougie to do here in Chicago, which he never does. That's why we ain't won nothing ever.
He had a pretty good dunk last week.
Defensively. We all know at the power forward
position. He don't play defense. That's why I said he had a
That's
pretty
why
good
we
dunk
not
last
going to
week.
win nothing. Because we need I would agree, think, and I don't know if you agree with this or not, you need your power forward to play pretty tough defensively.
What about the Los Angeles Lakers?
As we seen, they've been a big flop.
The Lakers going down.
You got a bunch of old men and a softy in the middle, and an overrated off guard. And I know he probably might be looking at this program want to shoot me. But Kobe Bryant, I said it from day one. I asked anybody that knows me, I am Melloweyelllow, and I submit to you, America. Kobe Bryant is overrated and has always been overrated. Now, is he cold? Yeah, he's pretty good. But is he overrated? Yes.
Pretty good. Kobe's great.
I
can't stand his guts, and I say he's great.
What's your issue with Kobe?
I just don't like that smug, overconfident attitude. That's just my personal opinion.
And recently he said in an interview that he wasn't bold enough to say, I would beat Michael Jordan. He said, I would give him a run for his money. But he said, I would beat LeBron James. I would beat, who else? He said he beat Tracy McGrady. He said he would beat LeBron James. But when they asked him about Michael Jordan, he said, I probably would give him a run for his money. He wouldn't say, yeah. If they asked him one-on-one against these players, you think you could beat him? Because he has a new commercial out where he's pumping himself up, as usual, thinking how cold he is. Knowing that he wouldn't have won no championship without Shaq.
I can't stand him. That you know what did it for me, which I really wasn't too much of a fan of, but after one game, they had won the game. No, they lost the game. This is when they was talking about he didn't play good defense along those years. I forgot who they lost to. And I think it was against the Hawks. But I'll never forget he said, the reporter asked him, Kobe, you think you're being aggressive or not? He said, oh, sure. You know, I just wanted to get my other teammates, you know, involved, you know, and get them the basketball because I can put the basketball in the basket whenever I want.
Right.
What? But score 100 points a game then, dummy.
America, I tell you this, as we drink beer and talk sports, my main man Junkyard.
I'm out.
One thing I will say is I've seen a lot of basketball in my days. I've been on this earth for a couple of years. I've seen a lot of Bulls games. I've seen a lot of Lakers games. I've seen Lakers games where Kobe has taken off multiple plays on defense. I've never in my life seen Jordan take one play off defense. Not one play. And even when he was old and couldn't move.
And he wasn't there saying, I can put the basketball in the basket, whatever.
He was like, I'm going to put it in the hole. It's real simple. So that's all you need to know. If you're trying to sit here and try to front like you think Kobe might be a little bit better than Jordan, you shouldn't even fix your mouth to say that. Because it's not even in the same sentence. He's in the okay, I take that back. Maybe he is in the same sentence, but he ain't better.
It was like that girl that told you who's the best rapper. Mm-hmm. And she told you what did she tell you?
As we drink beer,
somebody silly like
Father MC.
Something like that. You hung up the phone off.
Right, I hung up the phone like Rakim, KRS-One. In America, you might say Lil Wayne.
Like, who's the best rapper? She was like,
drink beer and talk sports.
She was like, it was before Lil Wayne and all them people. It was one of them real crazy dudes, like Bushwick Bill or something.
Dummy D.
Hung up the phone.
As we end our segment with my main man, the big belly man, Junkyard dog, and I'm nothing. I want to ask you a question, Jay. Why did I cough on you and give you a virus? We drinking beer and talking sports. MVP of the league for football and basketball. So you saying AP and a lot of people saying, oh, Peyton Manning. But all I see Peyton Manning do is piss his pants in the playoffs.
They got nothing to do with the playoffs. Oh, excuse me.
America.
Regular season.
Season stat.
MVP. Agent piece.
What about Tom Brady? He only had like 6 interceptions, 50 touchdowns. Rodgers, 45 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. I mean, their numbers are off the charts.
They didn't come back from reconstructing major knee surgery.
And they weren't chasing a record like Adrian Peterson.
And they weren't chasing a bona fide record.
And he was the only offensive threat they ever could even think of. And they still made the playoffs. Right?
True that.
How about basketball as we talk Drake Band Talk Sports?
Man.
Anybody that stands out as of now, almost all-star points.
I'm really liking Durant.
Durant has got to be the MVP.
I'm really liking him, man. 52 last night.
Wow, 52. You knew that stat, America. And what about LeBron? You think he's getting tired from playing in the Olympics?
No, LeBron's solid.
He's still doing this thing. It's D-Wade, the one that's punking out.
I ain't gonna say that. I think the Wade just getting worn. I think he old. I think the knees just.
He got a lot of wear and tear on him, right?
A lot of wear and tear on him, man. And believe it or not, that's gonna catch up with Kobe later on this year or next year.
And should have caught up with him 3 years ago.
Yeah, I think he did that blood transfusion thing.
And it kind of revitalized.
I think it helped him a lot.
Yeah.
Because that dude is like. I mean, I can't stand him, but the dude is flawless.
He's still pretty good.
He got one of the deadliest jump shots.
Yeah.
They don't call him.
He can't jump like he used to. He may not be quite as quick as he was, but I think his transgressions are about on par with Jordan. It's just he ain't Jordan.
They don't call him Black Mama for nothing.
He cold.
Man, I'm telling you, he's cold. He don't need no space.
But I think his ego is just a little bit.
I just can't stand that ego.
It's like Jordan had a swagger, whereas Kobe has an ego. Right. Swagger and ego is two different things. Swagger is something that you ain't got to pub yourself up. You just got it.
It's like they say he got his coach fired with the death stare. He's like, death stare? I don't have a death stare.
Then you listen to some of his commercials, he's pumping himself up. Like, why you need to... Jordan had commercials, but he never was like, I'm this, I'm that, I'm the greatest one-on-one. Like Kobe's most recent commercial. Check it out, America. I'm the greatest one-on-one player. Woo this, woo that. Why do you need that? If you that cold, people already know. You ain't got to pump yourself up. Just come out with something original. Jordan never said.
But I don't think he'll be LeBron one-on-one either.
Who would?
Kobe. I think LeBron would make pancakes out of this.
I think so too.
Boom! Get that out of here.
Right. And what if LeBron posts him up? Kobe can never stop him in the post.
He had to shoot the ball straight in the air.
But one-on-one, Kobe can stick him on the wing, I think. I'm saying LeBron can stick Kobe. I'm sorry, man. But he was so adamant in saying, I would destroy LeBron James. But the only person he said he maybe couldn't beat would be a challenge would be Jordan. Jordan would piss walk him. LeBron would probably whoop his butt too because he had the size and the same amount of athletic ability. Pippen would probably shut him down. So it's limited to who he can beat. He would be in this era as we drink man talk sport.
Hey, he'd be hard pressed to beat Metta World Peace one-on-one.
In his prime. Well, especially when he first came in the league, when he was elbowing Jordan, knocking his ribs out.
Dennis Rodman, look how he played defense.
Yeah.
It was hyper butt.
But notwithstanding, he's still cold. He's still the Black Mamba. But you talking about two different eras, two different times. Defense was a priority in the 80s and 90s, whereas now it's like motherfuckers don't want to fuck with.
That's like, I was trying to compare. That's another thing I meant to bring up. Stop trying to say the greatest ever. Don't do that. You can't say the greatest ever. You only can say the greatest in each era. You can't say the greatest era. You can't say Babe Ruth was the greatest ever. You can't say that.
Can't say it.
He was the greatest that only played against white people. You can say that
Be
in
fair
that
about
era.
It. Right.
You can say Michael Jordan was the best in his era. Because it's just too much difference in rules, the size, the speed in these players, the supplements that they take.
Fair.
How Babe Ruth, they say, never took just hot dogs and beer or whatever. But look at the field was different. The pitches was different.
He didn't play
you don't even know if the pitches was paid off to pitch to him. You don't know that.
He never played against Latin and African American players. So right there, that's telling you that he wasn't.
He's in the Hall of Fame, though.
That good. Yeah, he's in the Hall of Fame, but what if he played against the best players?
Regardless, he's never played against. That's my point. But he's in the Hall of Fame. So you got to put the PED players in the Hall of Fame. How you can't?
That is the greatest point I've heard in the last 50 years. America, if you didn't hear, say it again.
If you gonna have Babe Ruth, quote unquote, in the Hall of Fame.
And any players from that era.
Players in that era, you got to put the PED players in the Hall of Fame.
Because they cheated too, because there was no Negroes and no Latin American players that were allowed to play the game. And if you don't
if you don't want to do that, you have to take the Negro League and put their stats in the Hall of Fame. Then.
That's true.
You got to
Josh Gibson.
But you don't want to do that. Why? Because you got Negro League players that almost double Babe Ruth home runs.
The greatest pointer of the night in America. He's the Junkyard Dog. Listen and learn. He will be back like the Black Mamba is in LA, trying to swallow you up and spit you out. Everybody knows what he said is true. If you're upset about it, then boycott us. But until then, we are drinking beer and talking sports. Good night, America. Good night. Holla at your boy. Holla at your boy.